The rain beat hard against the tall glass windows of Chief Laro's mansion in the quiet outskirts of Mama, Abuja. Thunder rolled across the hills, echoing like distant drums. Inside the master bedroom, the old man lay beneath layers of silk sheets, his breath rasping through an oxygen mask. His face, once proud and full of life, was now pale, his chest rising in shallow, painful rhythms. Beside him stood Tina, the young housemaid. She wasn't supposed to be there at that hour, but Chief Laro had pressed the bedside call button 14 times until she came. Her heart pounded as she entered, unsure what he wanted. The room smelled of medicine and rain-soaked air. "Sir," she whispered, stepping closer. Chief Laro's thin hand reached out, trembling, yet strong enough to hold her wrist. His voice came in fragments. "Don't let them bury the truth with me." He coughed, his chest rattling. From beneath his pillow, he pulled out a small, rusted locket. It looked old, almost ancient, yet its weight felt sacred. He pressed it into her palm, his eyes locking on hers. "Find her," he gasped. "She deserves to know." Before Tina could ask who he meant, the bedroom door burst open. 2 security guards rushed in, followed by the chief's angry son, Depo Laro. "What are you doing here?" Depo barked. "Get out! Who allowed you near him?" Tina stepped back, frightened, but she kept her hand closed around the locket. The metal felt warm, almost burning. As they dragged her toward the door, she looked back one last time. Chief Laro's eyes met hers, not with fear, but with something deeper. Hope. The Laro mansion was a fortress of glass, marble, and secrets. From the outside, it spoke of wealth built on oil contracts and real estate that stretched from Lagos to Houston. But inside, behind the chandeliers and expensive art, the air was heavy with tension. Chief Laro's illness had turned the mansion into a silent battlefield. His sons and lawyers moved like vultures waiting for a carcass. Everyone wanted something, except Tina, who only wanted peace. She had worked there for 18 months. Every morning, she arrived before dawn and left long after sunset. She walked through those wide, cold halls like a shadow, seen but never noticed. That was how domestic work was. You became invisible. People spoke freely around her because to them, she was just the help. But Tina heard everything. She noticed Depo pacing downstairs every evening, his phone glued to his ear. "How much longer does he have?" he hissed once. "We must move the accounts before the lawyers freeze them." She noticed the black Mercedes cars that came and went, bringing lawyers with heavy briefcases and heavier greed. They smiled politely, but their eyes shone with calculation. She noticed the old man himself, shrinking with each passing day. Sometimes she would wipe his forehead, and he would whisper, "Thank you." Not to the nurse. Not to his sons. To her. Tina had come from a small village called Soko, far from the city's bright noise. Her father had died when she was 9. Her mother raised 4 children on what she earned sewing dresses for the market women. Tina learned early that dreams were for those who could afford them. At 19, she left for Lagos to work as a housemaid. By 24, her hands were rough from bleach and burns, but her heart was still soft. She sent most of her salary home to pay for her siblings' school fees. She had learned to survive loneliness, to smile when ignored, to bow her head when insulted. She was used to being invisible. But she never lost her kindness. Sometimes when she worked alone, she hummed soft songs her grandmother taught her. Songs about rivers, moonlight, and children finding their way home. Those songs reminded her who she was, even in a house that treated her like no one. One afternoon, the sun poured through the tall windows of Chief Laro's library. Tina was dusting the shelves, humming without thinking. When she turned around, the chief was standing in the doorway. His eyes were watery, his hands shaking slightly on his cane. "Where did you learn that song?" he asked, voice trembling. "My grandmother, sir," she stammered, bowing her head. "I'm sorry if it disturbed you." He shook his head slowly. "No, don't apologize. Someone used to sing that to me, long ago." He looked at her for a long, quiet moment, then turned and left. From that day, everything changed. He began to ask for her more often. He requested that she bring his meals instead of the nurse. When he couldn't sleep, he would ask her to stay until he drifted off. For the first time in her life, Tina felt seen, not as a servant, but as a human being. Then one night, everything went dark. The power went out without warning. The mansion, usually filled with the hum of machines, fell silent. Then came a sound that froze her blood, the choking wheeze from the chief's room. Tina ran up the stairs, heart racing. She burst into the room and saw his oxygen machine flickering off. The nurse was screaming into her phone about the generator. Without thinking, Tina grabbed the manual ventilator bag and started pumping air into his lungs, counting softly. 1, 2, 3, breathe, sir, please breathe. After what felt like forever, the lights came back on. The machines beeped again. The nurse rushed to check the readings. He's stable, she announced. Nobody thanked Tina. Dapo barely glanced her way. But as she turned to leave, the chief's hand reached out and squeezed hers. That was the first time she felt he trusted her with something unspoken. That night, the mansion was silent except for the soft rain outside and the faint beep of medical machines. Everyone had gone to bed. But just past midnight, the call light blinked again from Chief Laro's room. Tina hesitated before going. Her heart still raced from the power outage earlier. When she entered, the chief was sitting up, his back against the pillows. For the first time in weeks, his eyes looked clear. "You saved my life tonight," he said quietly. His voice was weak, but his gaze steady. "And you didn't do it for money. You did it because you're good." Tina looked down, embarrassed. "Anyone would have done the same, sir." "No," he said, shaking his head. "Not in this house." He coughed softly, then motioned for her to come closer. "There's something I must tell you. Something I have carried for 37 years. Tina stepped nearer, uncertain. The rain outside tapped against the window like restless fingers. "I once loved a woman," Chief Laro began. "Her name was Noma. She was the daughter of my driver back when I worked in Port Harma. She was kind, humble, full of laughter. I was nothing back then, just a man with dreams and empty pockets. She loved me anyway." He paused, staring into the distance. Then came an opportunity. A business trip to Houston. A chance to change my life. I promised I would send for her. I meant it. But America, he sighed heavily. America changed me. I met a woman there, the daughter of an oil magnate. Marrying her opened doors that Noma never could. So I buried the past. Buried her. Tina listened in silence, her heart aching for this old man who suddenly looked smaller than his wealth. "I built empires," he continued bitterly, "but I destroyed the one thing that mattered. I never saw Noma again. Not until 3 months ago, when I hired a private investigator." His voice cracked. "They found her name. She died 6 years ago of cancer in a public hospital. Poor. Forgotten." Tina covered her mouth, her eyes wide. "But she had a daughter," Chief Laro whispered. "My daughter. I never knew." The words hung in the air, heavier than thunder. Tina's hands trembled as she gripped the locket. "Sir, why are you telling me this?" "Because," he said slowly, "no one else can be trusted. My sons only see money. My lawyers only see power. You have nothing to gain. That's why you're the only one I can trust." He reached under his pillow again and brought out a small black object, a micro SD card. "Everything you need to know is here. Records, videos, proof. Find her. Give her what I couldn't give her mother." "Sir, Tina began, but he gripped her hand. "Promise me, Tina. Promise you'll find her." Tears welled in her eyes. "I promise." The next morning, before the sun even rose, Dapo cornered her in the hallway. His smile was tight and sharp. "Whatever my father told you last night ends here," he said, his tone dripping with threat. "You're fired. Be gone before noon. And if I find out you've taken anything—" "I haven't," Tina whispered. "Good," he sneered. "Because I will have you arrested if you try anything foolish." He walked away, his shoes echoing down the marble hall. That night, as Tina packed her small bag, her phone buzzed. The number was unknown. The message was short. "Walk away. Final warning." Her stomach twisted. Someone was watching her. She sat on the bed, clutching the locket in her palm. It felt alive, pulsing with a weight beyond gold. She opened it carefully. Inside was a tiny photo of a young woman with kind eyes, Noma. Tina whispered, "I'll find her child. I'll finish what you couldn't." Tina waited until midnight before daring to open the small SD card Chief Laro had given her. The mansion was silent now, heavy with secrets. She plugged it into her old phone, her fingers trembling. The screen lit up, showing 4 video files. The first video was titled Confession. She pressed play. Chief Laro appeared on the screen, seated in his library. His voice was stronger, his face filled with regret rather than sickness. "My name is Laro," he began, "and I am a coward. In 1988, I fell in love with Noma, a driver's daughter. She loved me when I was nothing. But when ambition came, I traded her heart for power." He paused, wiping tears from his eyes. "I built towers of steel, but none gave me peace. She raised our child alone while I signed contracts and forgot who I was. I didn't even know she was carrying my blood. For 17 minutes, he spoke. He showed letters Noma had sent that came back unopened. Photos of her from decades ago, hospital records, and finally, property deeds and bank statements for a trust fund in the daughter's name. This is my attempt at redemption, he said softly. But money is not redemption. I only hope my daughter can forgive me for being too late. The second video was labeled for my daughter. Tina hesitated, then tapped play. The chief looked into the camera with watery eyes. My child, he said, I never held you. Never heard you laugh. But you are the best part of me. Your mother was light, she deserved a table, but I built towers instead. I am sorry. I hope this reaches you before I go. Tina's tears fell freely now. The third file was all legal documents. Land titles, DNA results, signed wills, and instructions naming his daughter as beneficiary to certain accounts. The fourth was just 10 seconds long. Chief Laro looked straight into the lens. Whoever delivers this, he said. Thank you for carrying what I was too weak to carry. When the last video ended, Tina sat still, her heart pounding. The rain outside had stopped. The world was quiet, as if listening. She didn't know where to start. She only had one clue, the name Noma. Then she remembered Mama Gori, the head cook who had worked at the mansion for 12 years. If anyone could help, it was her. At dawn, Tina slipped into the kitchen. Mama Gori was already there, stirring porridge. Mama, Tina whispered, I need to tell you something. But you must promise not to tell anyone. Mama Gori looked up sharply. What is it, child? You look like you've seen a ghost. Tina took a deep breath and told her everything. The confession, the daughter, the videos, the locket. When she finished, Mama Gori crossed herself. She said softly. Then we must find this girl. If your master trusted you, we cannot fail him. They started making calls. Mama Gori's cousin worked at a hospital in Kaduna. One call led to another. A midwife remembered Noma, a proud woman who raised a baby alone. Her daughter's name was Amira, the midwife said. A bright girl. I think she studied social work. Another call, another link. A university record. A woman named Amira Laro who once volunteered at a women's shelter in Kaduna South. That was all Tina needed. She packed her things, clutched the locket in her hand, and boarded a bus north. It was an 11-hour ride filled with dust, heat, and memories. She stared out the window, wondering what she would say when she found her. She wasn't doing it for reward. She was doing it because of a dying man's last look. That desperate hope in his eyes that someone, somehow, would make things right. The long journey ended just before sunset. The bus wheezed to a stop on a dusty street lined with mango trees and half-painted buildings. Tina stepped down, clutching the locket tightly in her palm. Her body ached from the road, but her heart beat with a strange strength. The address led her to a small compound with a hand-painted sign that read, Amira's Haven, a safe place for women and children. The gate creaked as she pushed it open. Inside, women moved about quietly, some folding clothes, others comforting babies. The air smelled of soap and hope. Behind a wooden desk sat a woman about Tina's age, dressed simply in a long skirt and cream blouse. Her hair was tied back, and her face carried both kindness and exhaustion. Good evening, Tina said softly. Are you Amira? The woman looked up, her eyes cautious. Yes. Can I help you? Tina's throat tightened. My name is Tina. I came from Abuja. I have something that belongs to you. Amira frowned. I don't understand. Tina reached into her bag and pulled out the rusted locket. She held it out like a sacred offering. Amira stared at it, her expression freezing. Where did you get this? From your father, Tina whispered. Chief Laro. Amira's lips parted, then twisted into a bitter smile. My father? You mean the man who left my mother to raise me alone? The man who forgot we existed? That father. Tina nodded slowly. He's dying. He wanted you to know the truth before he goes. Amira laughed, sharp and hollow. The truth? Now he wants to tell the truth? When it's convenient. Her voice cracked, anger trembling beneath every word. My mother worked herself to death. I watched her cry every night, praying he would come back. He never did. She named me Amira because it means gift. But I was just a reminder of what she lost. Tina didn't flinch. He made a mistake. A terrible one. But he asked me to find you so you could hear it from him. Not from lawyers, not from newspapers, but from his own mouth. Amira slammed her hand on the desk. I don't need his words. I lived his silence. Tina's eyes filled with tears, but she stayed calm. 5 minutes, she said quietly. Just watch the video he made for you. After that, I'll leave forever. Amira looked away, breathing hard. Then she whispered, 5 minutes. Tina unlocked her phone and pressed play. The video flickered to life. Chief Laro appeared on screen, his frail face lined with sorrow. My child, he said softly. Your mother sang songs about rivers and moonlight. She used to hum one every night. If you still remember it, that was our song. I never stopped loving her. Or you. Amira stood frozen, her eyes glistening. When the video ended, she didn't speak. She turned and walked into a small room, shutting the door quietly. Tina sat waiting, staring at the locket in her hand. She had no idea if she'd done the right thing. Half an hour later, the door opened. Amira stepped out. Her face was streaked with tears. He said she sang to me, she whispered. That lullaby about coming home. Tina nodded. When I hummed that song in the mansion, he froze. I think that's when he decided to find you. Amira wiped her eyes. My mother taught me not to hate. She said pain can build or destroy, but you choose what it becomes. She taught me to help others because she had no one to help her. She looked up. That's why I built this place. Amira's haven. She closed her hand around the locket. Is he really dying? Tina nodded. He has days. Maybe a week. Amira drew a long, trembling breath. Then I'll go. Not for him. For my mother. She deserves to be acknowledged. Tina's chest swelled with quiet relief. Then we leave tonight. The night bus hummed as it rolled through the dark highways back to Abuja. Rain whispered against the windows, turning the streetlights into gold smudges. Tina sat beside Amira, holding the locket between them like a fragile promise. For hours, neither spoke. Then Amira said softly, My mother used to tell me stories about him. She said he had kind eyes but a restless soul. I hated those stories. But now I think she just wanted to keep him alive somehow. Tina listened, nodding. She must have loved him deeply. She did, Amira whispered. And he broke her. But she never let the bitterness win. When she was dying, she said, Take care of the women who have no one. That's why I built my shelter. Tina smiled faintly. You became everything she hoped you'd be. When the bus finally reached Abuja, the dawn sky was pale and heavy. They couldn't go to the mansion through the front. Depo had guards watching every entrance. But Mama Gori had already made arrangements. The back gate guard would take a 15-minute break at exactly 10 o'clock that night. That would be their window. At exactly 10, the rain returned, soft and secretive. Tina and Amira slipped through the back entrance of the mansion, their footsteps echoing faintly on the marble floor. Mama Gori met them near the kitchen, her face drawn with worry. He's barely conscious, she whispered. You must hurry. They climbed the back stairs, hearts pounding. Every creak sounded like thunder. The chief's door was slightly open, light spilling through the gap. The nurse had stepped out. Only the steady beep of the machines filled the room. Tina entered first. Sir, she said softly, I came back. Chief Laro's eyes fluttered open. When he saw her, a weak smile crossed his lips. You kept your promise. She stepped aside, revealing Amira. The chief's breath hitched. Noma, he murmured, confused. Amira shook her head gently. No, sir. I'm her daughter. His lips trembled. You have her eyes, he whispered. Tears slid down his cheeks. I dreamed of those eyes for 37 years. He reached out a trembling hand. Amira hesitated, pain and compassion battling in her chest, then took his hand. I'm sorry, he wept. I was a coward. Your mother deserved the world. I gave her nothing. Amira's voice broke. She taught me to forgive, but I don't know if I can. You don't have to, he whispered. Just thank you for being here. He turned to Tina. You kept your word. You're better than all of us. Then, looking back at Amira, he breathed. She mattered. You matter. His chest rose once, twice, then stilled. 10 minutes later, Depo burst into the room with 2 security guards. What is this? He shouted. Who is she? This is trespassing. Amira faced him calmly. My name is Amira Laro. I'm your father's daughter. Depo's face went pale. Impossible. Just then, Mrs. Fair, the family lawyer, appeared at the door, calm as ever. It's not impossible, Depo, she said quietly. Your father told me everything months ago. He left proof, DNA, legal papers, funds. I was to confirm it when the time came. Depo's mouth opened, but no words came. This changes nothing about your inheritance, Mrs. Fair added gently. But it changes what kind of man you'll choose to be. She turned to Tina. And you must be the one he spoke about, the woman who cared for him as a person, not a name. Tina lowered her eyes. I just did what I thought was right. Mrs. Fair smiled faintly. That's why he trusted you. By morning, the story spread beyond the mansion walls. People whispered, journalists called. Dapo tried to control the narrative, but the truth had already taken root. Tina released the confession video, the one where Chief Laro admitted everything. Within hours, it went viral. The public's reaction was overwhelming. Millions watched as the old man on screen wept, confessing how he abandoned love for ambition. People commented with their own stories of regret, loss, and forgiveness. It became more than a scandal. It became a mirror. Amira handled interviews with quiet grace. He was my father, yes, she said once. But I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to make sure my mother's story is remembered. Mrs. Fair later called a meeting at her office. Dapo, Amira, and Tina sat around a long wooden table. Your father's instructions were clear, the lawyer began. Dapo, the business empire remains yours. Amira, you inherit $3 million, properties, and personal effects. But there's also $5 million unallocated, meant for charity. Amira looked at Tina, then back at the lawyer. We'll use it to create something good, in my mother's name. A foundation for women who've been abandoned or forgotten. Mrs. Fair nodded approvingly. Tina smiled. That's what your mother would have wanted. Amira took her hand. Then you'll direct it. Tina froze. Me? No, I'm just a maid. Not anymore, Amira said softly. You carried truth when everyone else buried it. You risked everything because you believed in goodness. That's exactly who should lead it. Even Dapo nodded, his arrogance gone. She's right, he said quietly. My father saw something in you that I never did. And so the Noma Foundation was born. 6 months later, the foundation opened its doors in Kaduna, a bright building filled with sunlight, laughter, and hope. Above the entrance hung a bronze plaque. For those who serve unseen. On opening day, there were no politicians, no cameras, just people who knew what it meant to be invisible. Amira stood at the podium, holding a yellowed piece of paper. Before my mother died, she wrote this, she said softly. My dear Amira, you came during a storm. But storms bring life. Forgive so your heart can breathe again. The crowd was silent. She taught me that forgiveness doesn't erase pain. It just gives it purpose, Amira continued. And this foundation is her legacy. She turned to Tina. This woman carried that legacy on her back when no one else would. She will lead us. Tina stepped forward, her eyes shining with tears. I was once invisible, she said. But kindness made me seen. Now we will make others seen too. Dapo walked up quietly, envelope in hand. This is a personal donation, he said. 5 years of funding, not from the estate, from me. My father was flawed, but he died trying to do right. You helped him finish that journey. Tina smiled through tears. Thank you. Years passed. The foundation grew, schools, shelters, scholarships. Lives were rebuilt. In the main hall stood a glass case. Inside lay the locket, open for all to see. Noma's photo on one side, Chief Laro's words on the other. Forgiveness blooms in truth. Beneath it, a brass plate read, for those who serve unseen. May their stories never be forgotten. Sometimes, late at night, Tina would sit alone before the glass, whispering, I did it. I found her. She smiled softly. And in finding her, I found myself. Outside, the rain would begin again, soft, steady, and full of peace. Please like and share. Don't forget to hit on the subscribe button.